What's up, friends? It's Sean and Ben.
What's up, y'all?
Ben, you want to introduce yourself?
My name's Benjamin. Friends here with Sean. He's into real estate. I'm into Bitcoin. Just wanted to have a little convo and help get the word out.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation because, I've heard of Bitcoin, but I don't know too much about it. So it'll be informative for me, and I know there's probably a few other people that have heard about it but don't know the ins and outs probably as much as you do. So first, what is Bitcoin?
What is Bitcoin? Well, it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. A lot of different people have different use cases for it. But one of the main premises is right now is a digital store of value, somewhere that we can, an asset that we can store our value in, and that's going to preserve our purchasing power into the future. Potentially not be deflated away by the government, inflation, or taxes, or just outright monetary debasement of our hard-earned, time and labor. Because that's all really money is it's just a tool to, preserve your purchasing power into the future. People in authoritarian regimes around the world are using it as a way to, have a means to trade and transact, how to be able to buy goods and services when their money is completely screwed. Us in the States, we have kind of dollar privilege, if you will, where our dollar works fine at the grocery store, at the bank. We're able to use Venmo and PayPal and all that. But that's not the case for 3 to 4 billion people around the world. So there's that aspect of it. Again, it means many different things to many different folks, but a digital cash system that has rules but no rulers. Okay, so a potential way to again preserve our purchasing power into the future. So
That's cool. So basically, when you transact on Bitcoin, it's just person to person. Like, there's no overarching rule or regulation.
No third party. That's what it really does away with, is getting rid of a third party where, if I send you a transaction on Venmo, we have to use Venmo as our third party. If you have a Bitcoin wallet and I have a Bitcoin wallet, I can just send it right to you. I don't have to ask permission. It doesn't matter my race, color, age, how much money I have. It's a permissionless system that you're able to opt into, whether you want to use it or not. But yeah, just being able to get rid of third party is kind of a huge step as we move into the information age.
Mm-hmm. So a couple other questions I had. Are they making more Bitcoins?
The protocol is always minting more Bitcoin. So roughly every 10 minutes, a new block is found. And whenever miners find a block, they're rewarded. Right now it's 6.25 Bitcoin. Okay, so roughly every 10 minutes, 6.25 Bitcoin come onto the market. Now, the supply schedule was pre-written out when the protocol was released in 08 and 09, where it started off as every 10 minutes, 50 Bitcoin. And then after 4 years, it moved down to 25 coins. And then before last May, we were down to 12 and a half. Now the protocol says roughly every 10 minutes or when a block is found, 6.25 Bitcoin come online. And it'll stay 6.25 until May of 2024, roughly, when it'll move down to 3.125. So it just keeps cutting in half. That's why I call it the Bitcoin halvening, or the halving, because every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin that's rewarded to the network cuts in half until the year 2140, when the last fraction of a Bitcoin is mined. Really? So it'll just keep cutting in half and half and half and half until all of the Bitcoins are online and the final part of a Satoshi is mined in the year 2140. So when the protocol was released, the way I like to think of it is there was 21 million Bitcoin underground, and they're slowly being mined and added to the network. Right now, we're about to cross over 19 million coins above ground. So there's 2 million coins left to be mined in, from now until the year 2140. And actually, from the year 2100 till 2140, only one Bitcoin comes online. So it'll take 40 years for miners to basically mine one Bitcoin. So
wow.
Yeah, so basically right now, almost 90% of the entire Bitcoin supply is already out there, and it's going to take us, 100 whatever years, 90 years to get the last 2 million above ground.
So, have you ever tried to mine a Bitcoin?
I haven't specifically ran my own miner. Potentially that might be the next step. Definitely would be something to get into just to learn how the protocol works and interact with it. But I have a couple friends that have mined and kind of know a little bit of the process of it. Right now, mining is actually extremely profitable. So even if you're just buying a cheap little miner and plugging it in, you can actually generate some Bitcoin. So.
And for people that don't know what mining is it basically just like a system keeping track of all the transactions?
So that would be like the ledger or the database side of it. The miner would be more like you have a specifically purposed mechanical hardware unit that, so how the mining process works is, the way I think of it is it's like an equation, and the miners are trying to do computational computer guesswork to figure out variable X. And if they solve for variable X and it gives out the answer, I think of 1 or 0 specifically, I don't know. But if you solve for the correct variable, you get the reward. So you found a block and you get the reward. Well, so those, you can actually do the Bitcoin algorithm, the SHA-256 algorithm by hand. To do one guess at it, it takes forever. It takes a long time, and these machines are guessing millions of times per second. Okay, and so they're just guessing and guessing and guessing and trying to figure it out. And but basically, it's a small hardware unit, little box about this big, and as long as you feed an input of like electricity or power, it allows the machine to run, and it can guess at it, and then you potentially can get a reward at it. So anywhere you can turn energy into this little box and get the machine to guess is a potential way you can earn Bitcoin. So yeah, people are using oil and gas, they're using hydro. Roughly about 65 to 70% of mining right now is renewable. So there's a lot of hydro mining in China and geothermal and wherever, just anywhere you can. It actually incentivizes us to find cheaper inputs, and that's the pure market capitalism of it, is trying to get down to the very bottom, because if you have an energy source that's super cheap, well, it's efficient and worth it to plug in.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
So Bitcoin's been around since like 2008?
2009, yep.
How long have you been investing in Bitcoin?
So we will all say that we missed it and we wish we would have got in earlier. Absolutely, everyone will say that. I could have purchased at probably like 10 to 50 bucks or $100. Did I? No, you don't realize what's kind of going on. Started to hear more about it through 15 and 16, and just slowly started to learn about it, and then saw the whole number go up is what draws people in. You just see the price going up, and you're like, okay, well, I got to learn about it or something, and you come for number go up, and then as you kind of learn about it and get more skin in the game, it devolves into something much more. Whether that's the philosophic aspects of it, or there's just many deeper layers of ways that society could benefit from having a good money that are just absolutely fascinating, and many of the reasons why I think it's definitely here to stay.
So we kind of talked a little bit about it. You mentioned a few reasons, but so why do you feel like it's the best form of currency?
So it is, first off, everything is going digital. The world's going digital. Okay, we can obviously see that. So it would only make sense that there would be a digital money. Okay, Now, we could have a digital, I mean, the dollar is basically almost kind of digital. You know, you just look on your account on your phone, you use a credit card, it's kind of cashless in that sense. But again, and the government's probably going to try to create their own central bank digital currency. But again, we have to trust them, okay? We have to trust them that they're not going to debase our currency, inflate our savings away, you know, destroy the cash in my bank account by printing trillions of dollars. And time again, not just in the American government, but in, you know, societies and monies for the last thousands of years, they debase the currency because it's how you kind of, you know, stay in power and keep things going. Well, with Bitcoin, you can't debase it. So it's, I'm kind of getting a little off topic here, but it's proof of work where you have to actually provide value in order to receive the reward. Okay, so to get Bitcoin, you can either spend resources to mine it, or you can just go on the open market and buy it. If you know, you have to provide resources to get, you know, the value rewarded back, versus when the government wants to print money, they just click a couple zeros on the computer screen and then out pops $2 trillion for, you know, stimulus or whatever. It's a money that can't be, you know, kind of inflated away, I guess. And it respects the laws of, what we would say, respects the laws of thermodynamics and physics. There's so many different aspects of how it's different from our fiat system that are just, I can't even, kind of lost for words how it really is amazing. So
you talked about a lot of things that you enjoy about Bitcoin. Is there anything that you don't like about Bitcoin?
Ooh, good question. Anything I don't like about Bitcoin? That not enough people know about it, because you know just not enough people know about it or are able to understand or have the resources to get to the understanding of it. There's such a walled garden on the other side, and so that's why I think it's important to, you know, get the information out and hopefully bring people along. I think that's just the biggest thing, is we need more people to, because the more you learn about it and research it, and the more you find, like, you know, a lot of people come in as skeptics, like, hey, why let me find out why this won't work. Like, let me find out why it'll fail. And you'll realize that there is hours and hours and hours of articles and rebuttals against, you know, pretty much everything you can kind of come up with. You know, from a monetary aspect, from a technical aspect. So yeah, just hoping to get the word out, I think, is the most important, because there's a chart that shows how much knowledge of information you have on Bitcoin and your net worth that's in Bitcoin. And the more you learn about it, the more you realize, oh, I don't have enough. You know, it's really the most asymmetric trade or bet of our generation, I think. So.
And kind of to your point, like we had talked about, Bitcoin's kind of there's a limited quantity of Bitcoin, and the more people know about it, the more confident they are in it, the higher the price of Bitcoin goes, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and money is just it's a tool, and it's just a shared belief system at the end of the day. You know, and some would say it doesn't have intrinsic value, and people in the Bitcoin community would say intrinsic value is made up, and it's not really a real thing. I mean, kind of coming back, why Bitcoin is superior is the technical monetary properties of it. So we have divisibility, where, you know, can it be divided, you know, can it be broken down into smaller units? I mean, you're not gonna be able to go to a grocery store with a gold bar and shave off, okay? So it's easily divisible. And then we also have portability, like how easy is it to move? Gold is not that great. If you have $100 million in gold and you're trying to move to another country, I mean, you're gonna pay hundreds and hundreds of thousands to get that gold there. It's gonna take weeks. Bitcoin can teleport. Okay, it's money. It's a store of value money currency that can just teleport on the drop of a dime. And in the middle of a Sunday afternoon, go from rural Nebraska to Shanghai and be there in 10 minutes. If you want to do that same transaction with gold, it's going to take weeks and months. So that's the portability. Now we also have recognizability, which is a property of money where, if you have that $100 million of gold bars, well, you're going to have to test all the way through the cores to know that it's real gold all the way around. People can gold plate things. With Bitcoin, and if you run a $150 node and $100 software, you can verify that Bitcoin is real instantly, okay, versus taking the time to go through it. So we've got durability. Fungibility is kind of, do we know that it's legitimate, kind of one-to-one, it's one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin to you, is one Bitcoin to me. But the last one is scarcity, okay? Scarcity is probably one of the main touch points of this. We can understand supply and demand. If there's less of it, it's more valuable. And that's where Bitcoin's 21 million hard cap supply is bar none, kind of one of the higher levels of innovation with this, where Satoshi was able to create digital scarcity, where we can verify it on the blockchain, on the ledger, that it's real. They use Alice and Bob. If Alice has one Bitcoin and sends it to Bob, we can verify that, okay, Alice doesn't have one anymore and Bob has it. And so the 21 million, I think, is just absolutely crucial, because we've never had a money that you can't make more of it. You just can't, Well, again, it goes back to the reward. You have to provide value in order to get it. And even if you do, if the government wanted to right now outright come out, hey, we're going to print $2 trillion and buy the rest of the Bitcoins. Okay, that's great, but then the price of one Bitcoin goes like 100 million a piece. So they can do that if they want. But again, the scarcity, because there's only so many, is absolutely crucial to a money. Because right now our money is a measuring stick. We use it as a measuring stick to judge how much things are worth. But that measuring stick is changing. It's moving. So the rules of the game are shifting, and it's built on sand. Our fiat dollar system is kind of a system built on sand, and Bitcoin is built on hard bedrock, a sound money, a firm stance. Nothing's going to change. You and I can look at the rule set. We can verify the rule set. We can make sure that your neighbors are playing by the rule set. We don't get to audit the government. We don't get to audit what they do and know when they're going to print money. So a money that is rooted in sound money principles is something we kind of had a little bit of when we were on the gold standard, but then we got off. And even before then, we've never really had a truly hard sound money like Bitcoin. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yep.
That's true.
And it's really kind of, there's a quote that says, fix the money, fix the world. And a lot of the issues that they would say kind of stem from the fact that our money is broken. We can, you can pull up any example and see that there's a lot of, not suffering or strife, but there's a lot of issues kind of going around within society. And it might be hard to outright say, oh, that's because of the money. But at the end of the day, you have to work more hours today than you did in 1970 to purchase that same house. In 1971, the average median minimum wage 40-hour job or whatever was about $10,000, and the average house was $25,000. So you had to work 2.5 years to be able to buy that house. In today's day and age, it's like 30 years. You have to work 30 years to buy that same style house, and it's because it's because the money. It really is. It's just a measure. The measuring stick is just sliding. It's just sliding. And now, with everything going on, the stimulus and all that. We just printed $9 trillion in the last 12, 13 months or whatever. That's like over 30% of all the money that's like ever been printed, and we just did it in the last 14 months or whatever. These are going to have ramifications down the road. They really are. And it's actually, the price of Bitcoin isn't going up. Well, it is going up in dollar terms, but one Bitcoin always equals one Bitcoin. Okay. Now, So some would argue, well, it's not that Bitcoin's actually gaining any more value. It's just that the dollar is losing value. So you need more dollars to purchase that same thing. And that's, and again, the government could slow down Bitcoin if they just didn't print money and were responsible, but they're not going to do that. And so that's why it's one of the greatest inflation hedge assets. And it's really, Bitcoin is the measurement stick for how much inflation is going on. And that's why, we've seen this crazy run up recently, and we're going to continue to see an even crazier run up because we're starting to get the inflation kind of start to peek its head a little bit. It's going to take some time. Dollar's not going to fall overnight, but it's going to be advantageous to at least get a little bit. And tell everyone, got to get off of zero. Getting off of zero is the main thing. I'll tell anyone. At minimum, 1% of your portfolio net worth or paycheck should be in Bitcoin. Because if 1% blows up, well, it's beer money. You're not going to miss it. But the potential moving forward as a inflation hedge asset against the irresponsibility of central banks and governments around the world is something that cannot be ignored anymore. So, and we're only in the beginning phase. I mean, it's only 12 years old. Gold is 5,000 years old, and we're just in the beginning phases of watching what it means for money to rise up, and that's why people will say, oh, it's volatile, and well, yeah, it's volatile. It's a teenager. We're just going into its teenage years, so it's early. But there's steps and processes that money will go through to kind of become the global reserve asset of the world. And right now we're building the store of value layer. After that, it will be the medium of exchange, so you can use it when you go to the stores and stuff. And then the last part would be kind of they could say is the unit of account, where the house or anything you look at isn't valued in dollars. It'll actually be valued in how much of a Bitcoin that purchase is. So it's a fascinating time to be alive. I'm super grateful to be alive that we're alive during this era. I think it's really amazing.
Yeah, that's some good information. So, kind of went over this a little bit, but what advice would you give to new investors or new people who are new to Bitcoin who want to get started?
First off, stay curious. It's a sliding. It's never you do it and you're done with it. You can buy it and just have it sit there, but getting some skin in the game and then continuing to learn about it. There's so many aspects that Bitcoin leads down, especially with freedom and sovereignty as we move into the digital age. So that's, I'm just trying to continue to learn, but just staying curious, getting a little bit to get off of zero. And again, the more money you have in an asset, the more you're like, okay, well, maybe I should learn about it, and so just starting small, just get some to start, and then kind of working your way up from there. But yeah, like I said, the chart showing how much knowledge you have of Bitcoin and how much of your net worth is in Bitcoin. The more you learn about it, the more fascinating and realizing, hey, this thing really could work. There's some there's an insane community being built around it, and the community is really awesome because it's a shift away from high time preference, spending, consuming, gotta have it now, not thinking about the future, versus Bitcoin is all about low time preference, where it forces you to be like, okay, well, do I really need to buy that car? Because, maybe 1 Bitcoin now, but in like 4 years, that could be like, 0.1 Bitcoin. So do I really need it? Because it really just forces you to think, hey, do I really need this item right now? Because if this money is going to be worth more in the future, I got to be smart with this. Otherwise, people that are bad allocators of capital, that's capitalism. If you don't make smart decisions, the market is efficient and you get pushed out. So it forces you to, there's a joke in the community, like if you still have a chair, well, that's some Bitcoin. You can sell your chair. So like there's an extreme aspect of it. We gotta live our lives and have a balance, but it's a potential return to thinking about your kids or thinking about your grandkids, trying to restore the land and, have animals on the land instead of, just consuming everything around you and not caring. So it's a real shift. And again, that's why I say fix the money and we could potentially fix the world is if we had a money that, because what the dollar really does is it forces you to spend because it's going to be worth less. So it's forcing you to, we got to acquire stuff now, where on Bitcoin, when our money works for us and you're allowed to just save, it allows you to work and do other things and then know that your money is actually just going to grow. Like again, in the 70s, interest rates were great at the bank. You didn't really need, you could just work hard and then save money and you would get ahead. But that's not the case we have anymore. So Bitcoin is I like to think of it as for starting level, it's a new age savings technology. The numbers right now are roughly 195%, 200% annualized per year. And that number will come down a little bit, but it's a 200% savings account. If you just are responsible, you keep it safe and let it kind of compound for the future.
This is kind of a question I had. I was kind of curious about it. So what makes Bitcoin different than the other crypto coins, or what kind of differentiates it? Why is it going to go the long haul?
So the main one I would say is Bitcoin is trying to become money. Okay, it's trying to be the global reserve asset of the world. It's trying to be the underlying thing that everything in society is based off of or valued off of. These other crypto coins are, to be honest, there's a couple of them that might have some interesting technology things that they're working on, but they're all trying to do little niche things that, I'll be honest, 99% of them are just outright scams. They're just trying to market and say, hey, we're faster, we're better, we do all these other things. Well, they all have CEOs that can be pressured if they wanted. They all have office buildings that could be, the government comes and says, hey, shut it down. It's versus Bitcoin, there's no CEO, no office, no paid marketing. It's all bootstrapped from the ground up. Permissionless system that anyone in the world with an internet connection can hook up to. And again, the other crypto assets, like I said, are cryptocurrencies. They're all basically forks of Bitcoin in a sense. Without Bitcoin, they wouldn't really exist. And if Bitcoin's not doing well, they're not doing very well. These other altcoins, and again, they are going to go up. I like to say scams pump the hardest. They are going to go up. But again, I think of them more as trades. Those are trades, and Bitcoin is an investment for the long haul. So if you have any crypto or any other assets, just make sure you are skimming profits or get into Bitcoin at some point. I think the real long-term effect here is nothing outpaces Bitcoin. All these altcoins in terms of it's funny because some of these alts they're at US dollar all-time high, but when priced in Bitcoin, they're actually not doing that great. And so, again, it's your measuring stick that you're using to judge how well these crypto assets are doing. You're using the dollar, which isn't a good measurement stick at all. Now, if you price anything in Bitcoin, it trends to zero in terms of Bitcoin. If you actually price the S&P 500 in Bitcoin, in the last 5 years, it's actually down 98%. Okay, so the US dollar would say we're at all-time highs, but when you price it in Bitcoin, a real sound money, hard asset, stable bedrock measuring stick, it's actually not doing that great. And again, I really think these altcoins they're just trying to get your Bitcoin. That's free market capitalism. You're allowed to do what you want. That's the beauty of it. I would just recommend, making sure that that portfolio is closer to 90% in Bitcoin and then speculate with kind of the rest. A lot of people, including myself, got wrecked on altcoins or cryptocurrencies. You fall for the marketing hype, or you think it's going to be better, it's faster, and again, there's so many different variants between the other cryptos and what Bitcoin is trying to do. And Bitcoin has the most robust developer base, the culture behind it, and it actually has, again, real monetary principles that can stand the test of time versus these other crypto assets they're just hoopla, honestly. So
that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we could probably both agree that, you know, investing is good, regardless kind of what it is, whether it's real estate, stock, Bitcoin. Why do you think Bitcoin is better than basically any other type of investing?
So I think just in the time period we're in right now, Bitcoin is going to be the best investment. I think right now we are going through a time where everything in the world is being repriced in Bitcoin. This chair is only worth worth less and less Bitcoin, year over year. 5 years ago, whatever, 3 Bitcoin for the chair. Now it's 0.0003 Bitcoin. So everything again trends towards zero in terms of Bitcoin. Now that's just because I think we're so early in the monetization process of it because it's so young. I think, these assets I think there will be a time to rotate into more real estate and business and assets, or stocks or companies that are doing well. But for me personally, that time is not right now. The upside potential of Bitcoin in my opinion, far outweighs the return or the headache. Again, because Bitcoin is just a simple strategy. You just buy it, hold it, and you can go work on other things and then come back to it later. Versus other assets you might have to kind of follow along or paperwork and all that. But yeah, like you said, just getting people in the mindset that investing is important, is crucial. Because again, our society has just gotten so away from that. So anything to kind of reverse course and shift that a little bit, I think is really good. As for, why I think it's, better than real estate, better than stocks. I mean, you know a lot more about real estate than I do. I just think I hear a lot of guys kind of that I follow that, they have real estate and they're like, look, I just didn't want to deal with the headache. It's, the returns aren't as great, just kind of headaches and paperwork and dealing with clients and property owners. Bitcoin's just way simpler. You just buy it, hold it, keep it safe. Again, that kind of a time aspect of how much effort needs to be put into it. And then also, I mean, if we're just looking, on a return basis, on a risk-adjusted basis for return, Bitcoin is the best asset in the world. It's better than any stock. It's better than any real estate. Because the gains are potentially so big, it just can kind of outweigh all of the other prospects in a sense. And again, with the money printing going on, and money printer go burr, and they just can't keep their paws off of it. Well, Bitcoin's going to be the best adjustment of that, and being able to explain, the real prices of things around the world. I'm trying to think in regards to, specifically with real estate. Like I said, to be honest, I think real estate's a good investment, but I just probably won't have any for a couple years, maybe even closer towards, to be honest, if we're projecting out closer towards the end of the decade. I think we're about to go through the massive upswing of adoption, kind of that S curve where we're starting to hit the ramp where we go up and then we'll kind of taper off a little bit. When we start to taper, in the 5 to 10 years, depending on when that is, I think at that point, real estate might pick back up again or be more profitable in kind of my eyes. And this is a very simple viewpoint of how I'm looking at it. That being said, prices of housing, everything's going up. So it's not, I don't think you're kind of losing out on there. What would you say, just from what you know, where you think real estate would be better than Bitcoin in your eyes, you think?
Well, I think just a couple things, probably, in my opinion. Like I just think that real estate is a nice hedge against inflation, because people will always need a place to live. The real estate's real. It'll always be there, and it'll always have a value. And usually, it follows inflation.
Okay. I mean, I definitely agree with that. I mean, we all do need a place to sleep. Like, there's definitely that aspect. And yeah, it's not that I don't think real estate's not going to go up with the inflation. I just think Bitcoin will go up more than what the house value. And some of the people in the Bitcoin space would argue that stocks, and they would argue kind of real estate too, is actually it's overpriced right now. And actually, we're in a bubble of these things, and the government can print money a lot longer than we think. So gold bugs have been calling for the downfall of the dollar for 30, 40 years, and it hasn't happened. So I think it'll continue to go, but just with, I do think it is a hedge. It is an inflation hedge, and people do need to live there. But again, I just think Bitcoin is a better estimate of that measuring stick, because it's the base layer of money. And there's a couple folks that I follow that are kind of like how I talked about stocks or real estate might be a better investment once we kind of taper off or go through that big exponential growth. They're talking about, I'm excited to be able to pick up real estate and assets when we kind of get a little more stable, because there is going to be a time when it's going to be more beneficial again to have real estate and cash producing income and all that versus just holding Bitcoin. I just think it's so young, and we're in the early phase that it's just not quite there yet, in my opinion. But
one last question I have is do you foresee anything in the future, or any type of event or situation in which the Bitcoin value may go down?
So last year during the Corona, March 12th, March 13th, Bitcoin actually went down 50% in one day. So in 24-hour span, down 50%. We went from about $8,000 to about 4,000. And there will be things that cause liquidity, but again, it's because Bitcoin is so liquid. The people that had it were like, oh, I got to get rid of it. It's the most liquid thing, so they got rid of it. There could be spikes that will cause that, but I think long term, it's going to go up and it's going to go down, but over a long term, it just goes up. I think there will be a point though where something big could potentially happen, and I think a lot of things could crash. Stocks or real estate, whatever, could go down, but I think out of that will rise Bitcoin as a sound money and kind of the greatest monetary asset that the world has ever known. As a monetary technology, Bitcoin is bar none, and it will stand the test of time. There's going to be going to be batting on it. It's going to be it's going to go down. People are going to try to push it down, but again, because you can't inflate it, you can't print more of it. It will win out in the end.
I appreciate you taking some time to
answer
my questions.
Yeah, I appreciate the questions.
Certainly interested in kind of continuing the conversation with you.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again.
Yeah.
All right.
See you guys.
Peace.
Sweet.